All right, so what came to me for today, the message for today is that victory makes us vulnerable. Victory makes us vulnerable. I heard a message preached by a man of God, and because I was wondering, what is the hang up sometimes when you run into the next move? And you might have heard some of these messages preached where they talk about the person, one generation could lose their edge, or this person still have the edge. And I'm saying that because when you look at the life of David, David was willing to dance out of his clothes and look like a fool for God. And it rubbed his wife at the time the wrong way. But that means David, in spite of his success, didn't let his success stop him from having a heart for God. And that might have come right on the tail end of a success, but that's what happens sometimes. People's success can make them complacent. So they don't even know why they're being passed up by a next generation. And I've heard people say, hey man, they don't want to hear, people don't want to hear you talk about a rich gospel unless you're walking in what you're speaking, or something to that effect. And you're looking at them like, oh, okay. So based upon present circumstance, I can no longer preach the truth. I can't preach the words that is coming to me based upon present circumstance. I can't preach what I want to walk into because I'm being judged by present circumstance. Like as if my message is supposed to change because of people's opinions and their attitudes. No, it don't work like that. Because you preach the truth and walk into the truth. And the truth is the truth. Jesus can preach on marriage, even though he can preach on a whole bunch of things, because the truth is the truth. You know, and someone can say, hey man, you're not this, or you're not that, and you're not, the truth is the truth. But we let our comfortability tell us and start dictating to us. And sometimes, whatever it is, success or whatever, like anytime, what got Saul off, he was overly concerned about the people. That's the difference between Saul and David. David could care less about the people. So David was willing to do whatever. But the thing is, David had a heart for God. Something had to reel David in. He had a heart for God. But he didn't let even in David, it said in one of the scriptures concerning David, the life of David, it talked about how God was the one who submitted the kingdom underneath David. So the people were subject to David because of David's conduct before God. So sometimes people can esteem somebody and say, well, we esteem Saul and he looks and he carries himself like a king, so we're going to follow this because this is all fleshly things. And then somebody else can be like, well, he might not look outwardly, but the way he carries himself and conducts himself, this is the righteous ruling for sure, for sure. And so somebody can say, hey, I feel like I'm submitting myself to godly leadership. And so this is a man after God's heart, and I esteem that. And so there's something in me that wants to submit to him because he has the position, he has the authority, and I see what God is doing in his life, and I even know he might have came from humble means. And so I want to feel like, we had a kingdom, but now we have a godly kingdom. And so this is what I want to be a part of. So I say that because sometimes that's when you look at the message in the scriptures, they talk about the old prophet and the young prophet. For some reason, even though there was a prophet in the area, God had to get some other prophet. And the old prophet wanted to test the younger prophet, like, man, did God really say that? And so he's testing the younger prophet, and the younger prophet, not knowing the game, He was like, yo, I'm coming out here, I'm serving God. Well, why would this older prophet lie to me? And the older prophet's just testing him. And he starts disobeying God, listening to the older prophet, end up losing his life. And the older prophet says, you know what? That younger prophet's words came to pass. He was a real prophet. I was testing him. He said, bury me with him. But man, that might be now on my. I mean, I had something to do with that. I led him astray. So that's why you have to stay by your guns. Lots of times we look at someone, and I'll say this, like, I know about the grind because I could tell people I've worked in different jobs. Sometimes I just didn't have no silver spoon. Everybody's it's just because somebody was one time they was with me. They was like, "Yo, you started from the bottom for real." And I said, "Man, little did they know." I've even said it like even on social media. Yo, I came up from the bottom, and I said that from the beginning because I knew I was coming up. And I had a girl one time. She was like, "Shoot, man, you might be too real for this joint." And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna stay off of things because I'm not too big on the negativity no more. I just, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there comes a point in time, like, you interacting with people and they should be positive, but they still negative because they still judging you. And now they judging you off presence. They can't get it right. And you like, man, and you can tell them everything you tell them, it ain't sinking in. Like, cause you can already be like, yo, I had 4 challenges before I got here. I see what the devil trying to do. So I had 4 challenges before I got here. And then this is at the beginning of the day. You're like, I had 4 challenges. Boom, boom, boom. On this happened on this day, this happened on that day, this happened on that day. And then you like, now I had this challenge. I had that challenge. And then you talk about you overcoming. And then you say, okay, now I tried to do this. And I had this challenge, and that challenge. And the person's listening. And you like, I know that what the enemy is trying to do, they're going to see, is it enough challenge? And you got to be like, yo, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with all of, whether it's social media or whatever. Like, I know the end time strategy is to wear out the saints. So I said, okay, I know you got to protect yourself. So that's why I do these messages. So I know what I'm doing for me, but I do these messages, to be of a blessing to you. This just success principles. You don't have to. You can look up later and be like, oh man, he said really successful. But I put the path. I left the breadcrumbs. Like, yo, this is, you take them steps. Boom, you're there. Before I lock it up and put it someplace. Okay, now you got to go access it through here. But right now I'm chronicling my journey, and you could, like, yo, I'm gonna go check that out. Wow, And what's beautiful is, instead of me saying, man, you ain't got this, you ain't got 1 million yet. Oh, you ain't got 2 million. Okay, you ain't got 3 million, you ain't got 10 million. Oh, well, you ain't got 1 billion. Oh, well, why am I still broke? Instead of you saying all that, you could say, man, you know what? I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna listen to see if it's true. What does it matter if it's true? And then why would I try to stop someone? They said, don't tread the ox who's something about the ox that's treading out the corn or something like that. Like, don't muzzle the ox, don't muzzle the ox that's treading the, if he's still working and still doing, don't muzzle him. Because that's another thing I realized. Oh, okay. If you're one of the people who's bold enough to, because someone was telling me recently, said, wow, dang, the way you dropped it is. And I said, man, that's God. They said, but can't nobody even argue with it. I said, man, that's God. I just see things clearly, sometimes it's clearly, and that's just God. And I think sometimes, that's why I said, sometimes everybody think they seeing it, and it's so much going on where everybody, what it comes down to, we sometimes we don't recognize people. We don't recognize people's gifts, and we're complacent. So we stop growing, and we don't recognize people's gifts. It's all, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian. You this, I'm this, you this, that. You the young prophet, I'm the old prophet. You're not more than me. And then pretty soon it's like, no, I'm gonna hold you down. You ain't gonna get more than me. You ain't gonna. And you sitting there like, man, anything I got, I got from God, and anything you trying to hold back or stop is God working in my life. That's why it says Saul. It doesn't say Saul was the enemy of David. It says Saul was the enemy of God. God was trying to work through David, and Saul became the enemy of God because he kept fighting what God was doing in David's life. So he became the enemy of God because David was just yielding to God. So that's the thing, man. You wanna. That's all I could say. You really want to limit that because that's what I said. I was saying like I seen the challenges and I knew what was up, and I said I've preached on different messages. Or I said like I knew of somebody who actually passed away, and all the wife could say is y'all killed my husband. I said so. If I seen that happen to a guy at a president of an institution, and I'm not going to act like it's not real. You're only designed to handle so much stresses, so you're not supposed to keep getting. And I said, I know what it is. Here's what it is. People say it ain't no big deal because I was giving an example and then was talking about how someone even told me, man, it ain't no big deal. And I'm like, I said, but here's the thing. Someone could say, yo, man, I gave you a little punch. That ain't no big deal. But, and that's why people, because to them, it ain't no big deal. Man, what I did was that, but I said, what if all them punches add up? You gave him one punch, but then 9 other people gave him a punch, and all them punches add up. So yeah, to you it's no big deal, but to him he's like, man, if somebody do one more thing, so that's why you sitting like, man, okay, I'm gonna, and that's why I said you get to control your own life. You get to mitigate that. You get to say, I'm not gonna go around negativity because the positivity might be there, but it's negativity, and what little positivity is there ain't even worth the negativity because things actually grow. Like restoration comes from a place of rest. But if I've even seen growth and development as far as muscle development, like people don't even know this because I've studied training, physical training. That's why I said sometimes people they can keep trying to give you hope, and you've already studied it, and you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, okay, you talking about this, okay, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? What is this? You're like, oh, wow, you really know it's physical training. Well, let me see this and this. How come I ain't saying? I'm like, well, if you stopped stressing me out, you would have been seeing it because you could have known that you need adequate sleep, and you don't stress all have an effect on your physical development. Stress is sleep. So what I'm saying is that I seen some of my greatest physical gains happen when I had nothing but sleep and rest and hardly went outside interacting with people who was trying to stress me out. That means just home, like as much as people talk about gym, that means just home training and getting adequate amount of rest and limiting my stress. People was like, dang, bro. They said, man. And my hair was like here. Someone was like, bro, your hair grew down to there. So that's why sometimes cats might not even be knowing what a person goes through when they go outside those doors. But if they just stay inside though, inside and not go outside the doors, like, dang, your hair grew as long as Samson. Your muscles is bulging. What happened, bro? And that's why I study sitting billionaires like so Dan Pena, who stays in his castle, says, man, some of these billionaires, they're heavily introverted. They ain't got time to be doing what everybody else is doing. And so I study them. But what's the point of just having all this knowledge? You got to have the application. What I'm saying is, and I've mentioned this a couple of times. In the Think and Grow Rich, you got to protect. You got to protect this. All what you invested in here, that people, you might have the mind, and okay, my mind's grace my feet to go through the Ivies or through wherever. But somebody's still looking at, man, you a black guy that's like, man. And one time, one guy was saying, you know what? I've been doing this. How come you so successful from like day one? And I'm like, bro, don't worry about it. Don't worry. And then they and I know what they looking at. They looking at your skin. I said, but do you know? I have people who I can call who's millionaires, and I know how they feel is. Uh, I said it before. The joke is, You only gonna make $1 million. That's the joke. So, and I said that's good to have people like that. They look at things differently, and that's why I look in the scriptures. You'll see they say if you do this, you will not. You'll sit before kings and not mean men. So that's what I'm saying. The Bible shows you how to be successful. You can argue all day. I don't got time for that. So what it's saying is that kings, there's a level of men that you're interacting with that are mean. Then there's a level of people who are out operating and came to a position and through grace, wisdom, knowledge, through self-development, and they're kings. And they operate completely differently. They don't have a mentality of the crab in the barrel. So you got to get past the mean men to the kings. And kings look at things, they're like, man, you our buddy, man. I know how you gonna be, man, shoot. Hey, Bob, man, throw him that steak. That's how they feel. Like, man. Yeah, so I got the project, 10 million was on the table. I said, man, you know what? I'll just take 8 this time. Give him 2. They're looking at things differently. Like, I ran into a guy, they just look at things differently. Because I ran into this guy, God connect your steps, So he's like, man, what song? How many more of these songs you got? He's like, man, now, here's what you do. Want to pull back this and pull back that, and then do that. And I'm sitting like, yeah. So I'm talking to him. He's like, okay, yeah. So he's like, oh, so audio engineer? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. And then he might be like, somebody might be like, well, I didn't know you knew that. And it's like, bro, what you trying to see is trying to navigate the time. And sometimes there was a person, he said, man, you know what? In observation of you, I personally don't know why so much was placed on you, but I realized that God is sovereign. And I respected that because for the longest, sometimes people can be like, man, you missing it, you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that, you ain't doing it. And that's all they can say. You not doing this, you not doing that. That's all they can say. And then somebody else might say, bro, are you getting rest? Are you getting sleep? You're going from doom, 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 doom. And but you're blessed because I tell you, the mentality you have is victory ain't gonna make you vulnerable. You're not gonna say, I got a little bit of, and somebody even said, I was at the bank and he was like, give me some space, but I knew what he was trying to say. He was like, you need space. He said, what you looking for? Space. And I already knew that because I said, you know what to do and you need the space, but and I knew what it is. Like, you sometimes got to get people up off your bumper. Like, man, you riding me too hard. You got to get them off your bumper. Because you need, like, I need space. And once you get space, and that's why it talks about your gift shall make room for you. Once you got room made for you, then you can create and watch. You feel it. What did you do with the room? You filled the room with treasure. But you got to take what you know, and that knowledge and riches came from the word. And while somebody's arguing about your circumstance, you speak and preach the word and you walk out the word. And then you leave. Don't sit there and entertain nobody trying to attach you to a past that you've already transcended mentally. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. So if the words coming out your mouth is revealing your heart and you've already went to someone, you don't entertain, yeah, but I ain't seen it. What are you talking about? You're stuck on yesterday? Ain't nobody even there no more. And the truth of it matter is, sometimes your situation changes and people don't recognize it. And I said this over and over. People have said, well, whose car is that outside? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been driving that? But you still our buddy. And she's like, you still interacting, but you're just not bragging. And little do they know, like, well, we know you moved out of here. But little do they know, they never saw where you moved to. It wasn't just the ride, your house, your accommodation changed too. A lot of things can change, but you're still their buddy. So they're like, okay, yeah. And for a lot of people, it's like their life don't never change. Because somebody was like, I got the same friends that I had since high school. And you're like, man, I know millionaires and stuff like that. So you might have known me since for a long time, but while you sitting there, you know me, you might be looking a gift horse in the mouth, and depending on how you interact, you know what I'm saying? Because uh, I know people who, like, I could say, and I tell them like, yo, okay, I'm doing this and this, man, cut the check, and then they cut the check, and they sit down, and the other people will say like, man, I did all this and this, and I ain't get a check, and I'm sitting there like, you might be older than me, but you just might not have asked, cut the check. And they're like, wow, you asked cut the check? Why you ask? I said, because I knew how much my time and value was worth. And they're like, but if you still looking at like age and stuff, you might like, he knows something, but you looking at circumstances and all kinds of like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I can tell you from personal experience, when damage happened in my house, like people look, it's something like a weird type victim mentality. It's like, so you go through arson and somebody start looking at you like you was the problem. And you had insurance, and that's why I said you can get hit with a whole bunch of stuff. Somebody run off with your insurance and all kind of, and then like the city, all kinds of stuff, the zone and everything. So if everything come and hit you at once, and then like, and this is in the past. I'm just giving examples. You know what I'm saying? But so people looking at you like, man, maybe you the problem, and it's like, uh, the knowledge ain't changed. What did actually increase was, okay, now I got a knowledge of how important it is to have the right things in place. This also speaks to good government, but to have the right systems and things in place. Because I've mentioned this before, you can have laws in place and people might miss it. They think the goal, the ultimate goal is the law. So now these people are using the law. Let me give you a prime example. Like, okay, being a student, there was a guy, this is recently, just to show you another challenge. And that's what I said, recently. It's a guy, this might sound crazy, but just to show you what can happen in people's life, this sounds crazy, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody living their own different things. Well, people do. That's why I said some people know me like, yo, don't say nothing about this dude. I seen him. I know him. You don't even know him, But so I'm studying library. It goes past a certain time. At that certain time, they have a law in place. Show your student ID. The reason why they have it, and I said this person probably didn't even think, but me being a thinker, I thought the reason why they have it is because even though this is a public institution, we want to protect the students. So at a certain hour of vulnerability, we want the students protected. So we want to get rid of the public out of the place, but the students can still get their work and assignments done. But this guy was weird because he was a security guard and he was sitting there and you could tell from his whole disposition and demeanor, he was like, man, if you ain't got your ID, man, he's sitting there like, because he's like, well, you ain't got it. Like almost like, well, you know you can leave. And I'm sitting there like, okay. So I got 3 book bags with me. You see my textbooks. Anybody that's crazy enough to be up past midnight on the computer doing other people's homeworks. There's so many different ways to verify, am I a student? So many different ways. And you're looking like, I'm going to uphold this law at the expense. The law is meant, that's why I said, if you think deeper, the law is meant to protect the students from the public. But you think it's all about upholding the law, so you don't realize why the law was there. You're like, man, this law is not for the community. The community is supposed to serve this law. So I'm really imposing this law upon you because this law is more important than the community that I'm supposed to serve with the law. I'm supposed to serve the student community and body, but even though you're a student, you're an actual student, I'm going to use this law to mess with you. And what happened was, this was just one individual, basically security. What happened was, another person spoke up and said, hold on, that guy, even if he had his ID, what you don't know is because of something that happened with his ID, he could have pulled his ID to show you he was a student. But we're right now investigating and fixing something with his ID because his ID wouldn't even necessarily work. So I'm vouching for him. And then another person said, and I'm vouching for him too. So the guy, he's the security at the library, but the library people like, hold on, man, what are you doing? Leave him alone. And so they like, you all right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm good. He's like, all right, well, they say you know, so, and I know he's just doing his job, but that's what I was telling him. Then I told him, there's other ways that he's like, oh, okay, we can do another way. But I could see like from his demeanor, his first thing was like he didn't really know why that law was there. Like his first thing was like, because I could just tell, like, if he could put me out on the street, even though I really wanted to get my work done, that would it. He wouldn't, like, I've interacted, and this is why I say everybody's different. There's other security guards I could tell they were like, oh, you ain't got it. Show me you're a student this other way. We ain't gonna be no big deal, because I knew his heart was like, yo, I'm not gonna kick a student out. He's trying to get work done. But this dude was like, yo, man, I'll put you out on the street. Who cares about the work? I got this where I can enforce this and put you out on the street. And sometimes people be like, man, shoot, shoot, it's all good. It's all, ain't no big deal, But I don't want to get too far off. The main thing that I was saying is that even with that, there's a job where you can get complacent in your thinking that you're not developed yourself enough to even realize, to understand. See, when they say, as far as jobs go, they say when there's those who know what to do, and then there's who understand why that is what to do. They understand why they're doing what they're doing, and those determine who is going to get promoted into the higher levels. So that's what I'm saying. That determine your promotability. Like when some people see that you actually understand the job. Oh, you understand your job is to maintain security and protection of the students in your heart, and people love you. Boom. And you're for their protection, making sure that the community is protected and served, making sure this is a safe environment where people can get their studies and work done, and even that the public can come and enjoy the resources that their tax dollars are paid for. But if your mind has never thought about all those different things, you're just like, I'm a security guard, I'm here, I'm just doing this. I haven't thought that I'm a security guard at a public institution, that this is a land-grant institution. That means that the public have access here, and also the students have access here. The reason why we have a curfew on certain hours is to protect the students at vulnerable. Like, your mind have never thought of all those different things. So then it's just a job. But it's not something where you've like, I truly understand why I have this job, why I have this position, why the roles are in place, how to be excellent here, how to serve excellent here. And when you serve excellent, that determines, boom, how you work. Because I've had people before, and they be like, man, you got promoted 5 times within a short window, and we're making the same amount of money, and I've been here 5 years, and you ain't even been here 2 yet, and I'm mad. And people are frustrating and trying to make it hard for you, and me too. And everybody's wondering, why are you still here? That someone actually asked me that. Same color as me, older. And it's like, he said, man, how are you still here? And I'm sitting there like, I told him something like, because I don't care about it. I said something at the time like, oh, that shucking and jiving you do? I don't care about it. And somebody else is looking at me like, boy, this one, he told him off in a crazy way. I said, all that shucking and jiving you do? I don't care nothing about it. He's like, he didn't say nothing to me, but basically he said, this dude is like a puppet on a string. But I was just saying, man, all that stuff you learn, and you might not have known somebody's past and what they went through as a youth, because some people look at videos and like, as a youth, you was being trained, bro. Because as a youth, and I said, man, I need that video. Because I never even knew and I said, yeah, as a kid, I had to deal with, and you like, man, I'm gonna serve God, I'm gonna serve God, I'm gonna serve God, I'm gonna serve God. So you get to that point. But here's what I never didn't post today, but I thought about David encouraged himself in the Lord. So as you're drawing away from all the negativity, all the distractions, God is enough. God is enough, man. David encouraged himself in the Lord. So there's a time, and what does that mean? What is faith? You can encourage yourself by just saying, I trust God. I trust God. I trust God. Because the enemy's trying to tell you stuff. And it says when Jesus comes, he'll say, is there any faith in the earth? Just say, I trust God. How would you feel if you just kept going through the day saying, I trust God? I trust God. I trust God. I trust God. Man, your day will be blessed, bro. All right, so have faith in God. And what made me think about that is because David, he worshiped God and didn't care that he came out of his clothes. That's why some people be like, yo, I love, man, I remember back in the days our music was so edgy, it was so raw. You be like, what happened, bro? We got comfortable. We got comfortable. And I look at some of my posts and I be like, yo, man, I was grinding, man. I was at the gym, man. I'm really showing them grind life. It would be so blessed. I could just take this down and take that down and show people, yo, this is me after I have a decent shave and put together and I'm doing that and I'm putting myself posting up like a prop. This is business. But then sometimes my heart is so much like, man, but what I just said was true. And you get to a point like, man, there's things that mean more to me than my image. Some people haven't got to that point yet. Their image and how people feel mean the world to them. And you'll never understand them. Because you sitting there like, man, you still concerned about what everybody think? What everybody people think? No, I'm David. I don't care. They think I'm crazy. I done told everybody in that last city I told I was crazy. And then I acted crazy. I'm David. You know? Like they think they all think I'm crazy anyway. You think I'm trying to prove I'm sane? I'm David, bruh. Like, I don't care about that. You know, sooner or later they're gonna say, "Yo, I think he was sane the whole time." And that's why I was asking somebody something about. I remember we was having a discussion about Kanye West. I said, and they was like, "Man, he's a master planner." And I said, "Man, when I look at the scriptures, it just say if he's the most paid rapper right now, it just look like it says a fool and his money is easily separated." So I'm sitting there like, all the things that they might say about somebody ain't lining up to what you saying. Now, I'm not saying you can't have this or you can't have that. You can't. But what I'm just saying is, with all the stuff that I said, like people protecting and putting out an image and all, it's all kind. It just gets so much deeper. You got people in position, lying and trying to trick and trying to hold them. The game behind the closet. It gets so much deeper. That's why if you're just making a quick instantaneous decision, or you saying, "Oh, I see this circumstance," and that's what I said, a guy you pull up, he might have been a dude. So you think the guy's big on Flash, and he just was in your mind. He could technically kind of be a weirdo because he never really was big on Flash. So you like, why he flashing now? So you just don't understand why he do what he do. Just admit that. But that's what I'm saying. You looking at a dude, he never told you that he got a house or a car, and you interacting with him and don't even realize his whole life, his bank job, everything about his life changed. But he's still coming around and being cool with you. And then think about how many people might be like that. You talking to a guy and you cool with them and you knew the guy, and y'all both worked at Starbucks together. You come back and you see him, hey man, what's up, Bob? You kingdom with Bob, and Bob is a multi-millionaire now. And this is the thing, like as much as people be concerned about their images, these billionaires and stuff, they be wearing jeans and t-shirts. And that's why I say you see them, they don't be the ones most concerned about. They don't be the most buff ones. They're just quiet, unassuming. They carry themselves completely differently. Their mind is concerned about different things. And so you're interacting with them, and you're talking to them, and you never knew how much their life has changed, their circles, their connects, their networks. And you're like, and sometimes if you thought all of that, because here's the conversation I actually had with somebody at the end of the night, and that's why I said sometimes people respond so much to your circumstances. It's not that you change, it's they change. At the end of the night, this is what somebody said. He said, you don't think I could have a car and a house too? And I said, you think any of that matter to me? I'm still kicking it with you. So now that they found out, it made it weird because I guess maybe they might think in their head, why are you still hanging around with us? And I said, that never mattered to me. I had somebody one time, they told me, man, it took me 13 years to get my degree. You never played me one time, man. What? Why you ain't look at me as if I could not get right? I might have felt I couldn't get right, and you were still inviting me to church and being cool with me, and it's just weird. And I'm like, that junk never mattered to me. People is judging you by so much stuff, man. My whole thing is, I said, man, all I care about how we interact. You know, you not snaking me, or you know what I'm saying, you not doing me no wrong. You know what I'm saying? We having a good time. What am I? Oh man, you repeated the class 5 times, and you can't be my friend. Oh, there's people out there weird like that. I'm like, I don't know. That's why I've been around some people, and you might advise them like, hey man, they trying to get rid of you. Here's what I do the work of 3 people, or do the work of, I said, well, just take a less of a break. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do all that. And then they fired. But you still cool with them because you like, I ain't going to get rid of you because I'm cool with you. But then somebody was like, hey, if that person consistently negative, they talking about you. So I'm interacting with the person. And then somebody else come in and like, man, you should be on the ground right now. They should be treated like, and I'm like, what you mean? I don't even know you. And the person was like, maybe it was something I said. And I'm sitting there like, what could you have said? And then that's what I was like, you know what, man, I'm cool, man. Because there are certain people like you do have to qualify me. Like, man, hold on, I could be cool with you. Sometimes people just looking for a friend, and you could be a friend because you like, man, this person need a friend. But then you gotta sometimes pull yourself back and say, this person need a friend for some reasons. And be like, yo, man, because I know like when stuff started happening to you, the natural thing I would look is everybody pull away, but I didn't pull away. But I know everybody's like, man, this dude is weird. Don't you see what's happening? Pull away. And I'm sitting there like, I just ain't never been that type. But then I realized my name was coming in the circles and stuff. And I'm like, dang, but you ain't talking it over with me before you going to this and doing this. Dang, you got people looking at me. You putting the bullseye on my back. And you supposed to be when you come to realize like you might be there for some people don't care nothing about you, man. They don't. They just don't. And my whole thing is like if you're a person that is the person who do give 100, sit with kings and queens, man. You know, get past the mean men. Sit with kings and queens. Read this Bible. This Bible is actually a manual for transformation into that. If you realize how it's written, it tells you basically, my son, I'm gonna make you a king. That's what it tells you. If you understand what it's saying, my daughter, I'm gonna make you a queen. You know, that's what it tells you. And then so that's why if you already discerning that, if somebody said, well, if I don't see that, man, say, man, I'm a preacher. I'm gonna preach. I'm gonna keep preaching. You know, because sometimes people forget where they came from, man, and it build a complacency in them. So don't forget where you came from. Reach back, but when you're reaching back, don't let them pull you back. There was a movie, he said, every time I get out, they pull me back. So don't let them pull you back into the mud. Don't let them pull you back into the mire. Say each one reach one, lifting as we climb. So as I'm climbing, I can maybe lift one, or I can lift this person, but you're not climbing and having somebody always erasing your climb, always erasing your hustle, always erasing your steps. Because people might be looking at you the same way. Look, I'm trying to see, is you going to erase my hustle? Is you going to erase my steps? And they trying to evaluate. And they might be like more so on that. Because me, my whole thing is like, I'll be cool with somebody. Like, I can be cool with people in all different stratas. And they might like, well, why are you cool with me? I said, because you're not erasing my steps. You're not pulling me down. Like, there's people, like, I could talk to you and I'm cool with you. You might work at Starbucks or you might work wherever, but there's nothing in your heart like, because I'm here, I'm not looking like, uh, I'm gonna make your life terrible till you get down to here. Everybody's not like that. They might be like, man, I like the fact that you come around, you give me something to shoot for, man. We gonna build what you need me to do. If you ever got an opening, man, I'm gonna come work with you, man. We gonna do and take over the whole city together. We gonna do all this and that. And then there's some people, they just looking like, man, until I see, until I see, until I see. And you like, what if all this stuff didn't happen and you still never saw? You know? Because you've already had you in your life when everything changed and nobody saw. And then someone might say, well, no, I will see. And then there are people like that. And then sometimes people, they're not judging it correctly because they're going by their circumstance. Like, and somebody who can judge correctly is sitting there like, that's why I've got some people who be like, yo, man, don't say, look, that brother took 10, 12 shots today and still kept walking. And you talking about how come he leaking on the carpet. Don't say another word. And that's how they feel. And I'm like, I'm thankful for them in my life. I'm thankful that I got them in my life. Because I wouldn't give them up for nobody. You know. And I love them. You know. I'm just a lover. One, y'all be blessed.